All right, I'll go ahead and call to order the June 6th regular meeting of the City Council. First of all, good news regarding Councilmember Saunders. He's been improving a whole lot. There was a chance that he might have been here tonight, but he called me earlier today and said that he wants a few more sessions of PT, so maybe next week or next meeting or the following after, but that's good news in the right direction, so wanted to pass that on. With that, we'll move on to Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. That'll be led by City Attorney Krebs.
Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for letting us be here tonight. We thank you for the beautiful weather and for the rain that we needed. And we thank you for all those who take care of us, who keep us safe and protect us. We thank you for all those who just provide service to the city on a day-to-day basis. We thank you for just their dedicated, faithful service to the city, Lord. We pray that you will help us to make good decisions and to discuss everything in the ways that would please you. And we pray that you will be with the leaders of our nation, that they would make the choices that please you as well. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to special guests and announcements. First up is the Maumelle Youth Council award presentations. Brian, why don't you come on down and introduce folks that we've never seen before?
You can come up here. You're important too.
What you want me to do?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Clenworth. I'm the Activities Coordinator and Maumelle Youth Council Advisor for the City of Maumelle. Standing here to my right is Stephen Bolin and Avery Champion. And standing to my left is Fred and Mary, who are our sponsors year after year and great friends. We just wanted to give, every year for the Youth Council, we choose a awards recipient and also a scholarship recipient that embodies what the Youth Council is supposed to be year after year. And these two fine stewards of the Youth Council were chosen this year. I know you have some stuff to say, Fred.
I think you're limited to a minute, though.
Not necessarily.
It's 3 minutes.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the mayor and the council for allowing us this time tonight. We do this every year, as most of you know back here, but a lot of you out here don't know it. But every year, the Paytons and this year it's represented by the Youth Council, the Paytons, and Marion Scott Coning, who donated $500 each organization, for a $1,500 scholarship to the senior who was most outstanding in achievement and everything with the Youth Council this year. And as was said, Stephen Bolin is the winner of the Payton Award this year, and Avery Champion is the Payton Scholarship, and Avery Champion is the Payton Award winner this year. And these youth represent some of the finest young people we have in Maumelle. Every student in the Youth Council has to live in Maumelle. They don't have to go to a Maumelle school, but they have to live here. So they're the ones that we choose from for these awards. And there's a 5-member panel that picks the winners, and they're chosen by their achievements, their participation, and their grades in school, a lot of things. And they have to write an essay saying why they want to win. And we're real proud of them. We're proud of their achievements. This year, they completed 15 projects within the city of Maumelle. That's things that they do that might have had to been hired to be done or whatever, but they take it on as a project. I think I've covered it all. I just want to make sure everybody understands that the members of the Youth Council are really outstanding young members of the community, and they're our future, so we're real proud of them.
We'll start with the scholarship. Here's a $1,500 check for Stefan. Stefan will be attending the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and he's going to be joining the Air Force ROTC to be commissioned as a Cyber Warfare Operations Officer. Thank you so much. Yeah. Mary, you want in on this?
You're calling on, I'm just trying to.
Okay. And then, as for Avery, she'll be planning on going to Brigham Young University in Idaho to study biology with hopes to become a pediatrician. Just once. Thank you all, and thank you, council members.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all, and congratulations to both you, Avery and Stefan. With that, we will move on to something equally as exciting, and that is the audit presentation. If you could come on down and introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Baker. I'm with EGP. So we, in conjunction with John Kraft, completed the audit for 2019. So I was just briefly going to go over our opinion, and I guess I'll turn it back over to you.
That'll work. Thank you.
Okay. So I will start on page 1. So this is our independent auditor's report, and basically this just goes through what we audited. So we've audited the financial statements for December 31st, 2019, and the related notes. In our opinion, we outline who is responsible for what. So you'll see in that first heading under management's responsibility, management is responsible for the fair presentation and preparation of the financial statements in accordance with we call it GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Standards in the United States. And they're also responsible for the internal control over financial reporting. So, insofar as anything that would go into the financial statements, they're responsible for establishing policies and procedures that ensures that information is accurate. Our responsibility then is to come in and express an opinion on the financial statements. We conducted our audit in accordance with 2 sets of standards. That's the auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, and because you are a governmental entity, we also conduct our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. Both sets of standards require that we obtain reasonable assurance, so it's important to note that it's not absolute assurance. We would be here a while if we were trying to obtain absolute assurance, because that would entail looking at every transaction, which would take a good bit of time. So then we also, the procedures we apply if we're just getting reasonable assurance are based on our professional judgment and risk assessments of which areas pose the most risk or most significant to the financial statements. And then our audit also, it considers internal control to the extent that it's relevant to the preparation of the financial statements, but we do not undertake to express an opinion on internal control. So you know, if there's anything that comes to our attention, then we will report that if it rises to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness. But we're not undertaking to express an opinion on internal control. So based on our procedures and our testing, we do believe the financial statements are fairly presented at December 31st, 2019. So that's under our opinion paragraph there at the bottom of that page. And there's some other information, the required supplementary information, and some other information in there that we do provide what we call an in relation to opinion. So we're really just looking at it. So this is all the information in the back, looking at it, making sure it's consistent with the financial statements, but not expressing an opinion on the schedules themselves. It's important to note that we are not expressing an opinion on the introductory information or the statistical information. Since it accompanies the report, we read over it, but that is solely management's information. The other two reports that we issue, you'll see one of them referenced there in the last paragraph, is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. And so this is where, if anything rises to the level of a significant deficiency, this is on page 85 of your book. If anything rises to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, that would be reported here. We didn't have anything that would rise to that level. You know, Liz had everything reconciled and had the documentation there to support it. So the only thing I would say is, you know, I know there was a period of time where there was some struggle. Let's just get to a point where you're all of that's been executed timely, right? You know, so you want it happening as close to the month end or the year end as possible. And I know Liz is working towards that, and it sounds like she's made a good deal of progress as well. So, the other report that we issue is we do look at compliance with certain state acts, and so this is an examination report that we issue on that, and there are no reportable matters in here. With that, I guess I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you. Were there any questions? Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't see a management letter. Did you all issue a management letter?
We did not. We did not have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. What the only comment that we would make is the timeliness, which I know that's being worked towards.
Okay, so there was nothing worthy of a management letter?
Correct.
Because like last year, we had, you know, we were still behind on bank reconciliations, and they weren't being done
Yes.
properly and things like that. So what you're saying is all that that was mentioned last year, I'm assuming you've seen that?
Yes, we've looked at bank recs and our testing and all the individual account reconciliations, and I think that Liz has most of that cleaned up, so.
Okay, so all that's dropped off?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Also, part of that is probably because when we started the 18 audit, we started that process and then didn't have the reconciliations, whereas when we started the 19, we already had the 19 reconciliations done. Councilmember Holt?
You mentioned a couple of times that we don't express an opinion on that. Could you give an for instance, as to what you're saying about you're not giving exactly an opinion
Sure.
on, and the difference in that, and something that you would be specific about to make a remark about?
Right, so, you know, an example would be, most public companies require an audit of internal control. What we are doing is we are talking with individuals and understanding the processes that they go through to produce information. And what we will do is we'll do what we call a walkthrough. So we'll take one transaction and walk through that process to see if it's consistent with what we're being told the process is.
Right.
That's what we do in an audit. If we're undertaking to express an opinion on internal control, then our samples will be much broader. So we may draw a sample of, for example, there's a different number of items you're supposed to draw based on the frequency of the control. So, for example, bank reconciliations. If you were going to undertake to express an opinion, then bank reconciliations, you would select 3 to 4 bank reconciliations throughout the year for each account and look at those.
Okay.
Rather than just testing at December 31st or whatever, sometimes we test it in an interim period and then just review at year end. But in this case, we had the year end reconciliation, so we did that. Another example would be, disbursements. We might select a sample of 40 to 60 disbursements as opposed to 1 or 25 or whatever our sample might be. So you have much bigger samples when you're undertaking to express an opinion on internal control, and there's a lot more assessment that goes into it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Not a question, but an observation, looking at our standing debt and bonds. It's always near and dear to my heart. It's really good to show that if we looked at all the bond schedule, we'd be almost about 34.6 outstanding. We are down to just a little over 31, so we're over $3 million ahead of our long-term debt payment, which is a good trend to be on. So hopefully that can continue.
We believe it will, because this is the 19 audit, so. Yeah. Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, I just wanted to ask about your relationship with Mr. Kraft and Veach. Did you all have like a joint effort on this audit? How did this work?
We are, he reviewed behind us the draft, and then we've taken over most of his audit practice.
Okay.
So we are executing on most of his audit engagements.
Okay. Well, thank you for your involvement this year. I think we've got other arrangements coming up, but thank you for your efforts this year. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Any additional questions? All right. Well, thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept the 2019 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I told you it'd be almost as fun as the Youth Council Awards. Next item is the approval of minutes. We've got 2 minutes. The first one we'll discusses the May 16th regular meeting minutes. Y'all received a copy of that in the council packet. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the May 16th regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to the May 25th special meeting minutes. Y'all have received a copy of that in your council packet as well. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the May 25th special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We will move on to public comment. I have one public comment card. It's on an agenda item, so we will address that when we get to that item. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Are we up for a planning commission report this time, council member?
Yes, sir.
You have the floor.
All right. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Okay. This month, there were, started out to be about 4 different items. One item was deferred, so we were down to 3 non-residential subject matters this month. One of them involved Plastic Ingenuity. They are expanding their facility and their warehouse and some things like that. So there was a combined preliminary final plat on that. That was approved. and then this was Plastic Ingenuity again. And they also had a proposed site plan and landscape plan, and that was approved. And none of that comes to us. That all stays with planning. Then the Maumelle High School is having a athletics expansion. It's quite amazing, the facilities that they're going to have. I think a softball facility and some other things there. So in that regard, there was a site plan and a proposed landscape plan, both approved. And again, those both stay with the Planning Commission. Then we had Inc. Properties is having an expansion over there in the industrial area. And that was involved a site plan, development plan modification, proposed landscape plan, and proposed commercial building design. All those passed. And the development plan modification for Inc. Properties comes to us tonight. So we'll be dealing with, I think, a resolution on that. And I think that's all my report.
Thank you, sir. With that, we will move on to unfinished business. Just a quick note about the first three ordinances are all regarding elected official salaries. Just a reminder that Maumelle City Code requires in even-numbered years for the mayor to stand up a committee called the Elected Official Compensation Committee. That committee then makes recommendations to the city council, and then those recommendations are presented to the council by ordinance. So without further ado, if we could have the third reading of Ordinance 1066, amending a compensation schedule.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1066, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of the mayor of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
All right, this is on third reading. Is there any discussion on this ordinance?
Motion to approve ordinance 1066.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on Ordinance 1066? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gartner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1066 is adopted. The next item of business is Ordinance 1077, amending a compensation schedule. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1067, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of the City Clerk Treasurer of the City of Maumelle.
Is there any discussion on Ordinance 1067?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Gartner,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1067 is adopted. Next item of business is Ordinance 1068. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read the title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1068, an ordinance amending the compensation schedule for the elected position of the City Attorney of the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Any discussion on Ordinance 1068?
Motion to approve.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1068 is adopted. Just for the record, the committee did not come back with the proposed increase for the city council, and so no such ordinance was proposed. With that, we'll move on to Ordinance 1069. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, An ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1069, an ordinance permitting city employee Patrick McIntyre to conduct business with the city of Maumelle, Arkansas, and prescribing to the extent of his authority.
All right, I do have a public comment card on this from a business. Who'd like to come down and chat? If you could please state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name's Zachary Henson. I'm in North Little Rock, Arkansas. It's 10604 MacArthur Drive in North Little Rock. We are a current towing company that's on the city rotation. I do have an objection to Patrick McIntyre with Pinnacle Towing to do business with Maumelle. Right now, any lot that they do have is outside of 15 miles, like the rules and regulations do state. Also, too, Pinnacle Towing and Recovery does not have permits with the Arkansas Towing and Recovery Board. We did notice there was one wrecker in Maumelle working on rotation without any decals on their towing vehicle. So that's what I want to bring up today, like what are their qualifications to be put on rotation here?
I don't have that. What we're discussing today is the proposed conflict of interest. I don't review the towing contracts or agreement. Yeah. You still have, thank you. Did you have anything else?
No, that's why I was just saying, to figure out what I need to do. So what, I just need to put in a complaint on this, or? For a government employee with a record service being placed on the city rotation.
Well, that's what we're discussing today, is whether or not there's a conflict being presented by virtue of the employment.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, we do have Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, his complaint was, I think he was indicating that they hadn't maybe filed enough paperwork to even be on the rotation or something like that. Is that what I understood?
Wait, would you like to come up and answer that question? Rather than me try and paraphrase it.
What I'm bringing up on this matter is, under the rules and regulations of the towing contract here at City of Maumelle, you have to be within 15 miles. And any office they have is outside of 15 miles from here. Now, it says that they are in the purchase of trying to purchase Eckes Towing and Recovery, and they're within the radius here. But they're doing business as Pinnacle Towing and Recovery, which is DBA Routh Record Service. Routh Record Service is current with Arkansas Towing and Recovery Board, but they were out in a truck in Maumelle doing a tow in an unmarked rollback. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Is this towing contract transferable from company to company? Or if Eckes Towing and Recovery didn't have anyone available, it says that it will be transferred to the next available record service that is on city rotation. And we were the next rotation up. So that's what we're trying to figure out, why we are getting skipped.
Okay, all right, well, it does sound like that's another issue, it sounds like, and anyway, I trust the mayor will kind of look into that and see if we're good with all that, so.
I'm not involved in that process. That's overseen by the clerk's office.
All right.
Well, what I would do is I would verify the information that was submitted. If this ordinance passes, it actually, once it goes through my office, the tow companies deal directly with the police department. But what you have brought to our attention is really serious, and I am going to look into these allegations to see exactly what's going on. But I can't move until this ordinance, because we don't know if it's going to pass or not. But I'll follow up with you guys either way. And you shouldn't have gotten skipped even with the changing. So we'll discuss that. I just need more information.
All right, thank you.
Did that answer your question, Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, and I do have a comment when we get into discussion. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams?
Is Mr. McIntyre here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can he,
Mr.
can you speak to
McIntyre?
that? Can you answer those questions for us?
Pinnacle Towing and Recovery is not operating as Eckies because this ordinance hadn't passed. The closing and the purchasing of that business is all pending tonight. So, as far as any lots within 15-mile radius, there is no operation by me yet. I mean, assuming this passes, then yes, their trucks will be permitted as possible, or as required by state law. 15 miles, I was aware of that for 10 years ago, that there had to be a lot within 15 miles. We're prepared to do all that. We're just trying to cross our T's and dot our I's, make sure that all the rules are followed.
Well, I don't know, are we getting the cart before the horse, or am I, this is how it goes?
Madam City Attorney?
I just wanted to clarify, because I think it might be relevant to the question that was asked. If a private person requests for you to come and tow out of Maumelle, you do that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Did that answer your questions?
I'm not real clear on, the
So,
timeline.
neither am I, but what we're deciding is whether this sale, not whether the sale can go through, but whether or not they can be put on the tow rotation with the fact that Lieutenant McIntyre is employed with the city.
So this passes and he's allowed to move forward with his own personal business and then be put on the road?
Well, they'll still have to qualify for, so what we're discussing is the potential conflict of interest. They would still have to meet all of the rules and regs that are in the terms of the contract and go through that approval process.
Okay.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
I was just a second from turning off the light, because I wanted to summarize that was my understanding of how the process
Yes.
is, that this is just to approve him going, and then before he gets the contract, all these are checked and settled, and then he goes to rotation. And you summarized that before I could turn off my lights. So we get two summaries. Thank you.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, and when we get into discussion here, I wanted to, and I assume we're into discussion.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to reiterate that I am a no vote on this tonight, and again, I'm restating my reasons that I think it's an Arkansas statute, I believe, that we're doing an exception to. I do think it's a good statute. I do think that we should go by it, and so I'm not in favor of the ordinance. I'm being consistent. I've done this in the past with anybody else, so I'm not singling out this gentleman. And I'd appreciate if you'd put my reasons for my no vote in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, we're not going against the statute. We're following the procedure as stated in the statute for when there is a conflict. Councilmember Holt?
What, unlike a merchant that we had when I became a council member, and we talked about the company he sold telephones and sold the telephones to the city, if I understood correctly. What exactly would be the conflict of interest in this particular case if they get called on duty to go service an accident or something? That is being paid for not by the city, but by an insurance company. Is that right, Madam City Attorney?
It depends on the circumstances. It's generally to get the car out of the tow company's custody, the individual who owns the car is going to have to pay for it.
What, without, I may open up a can of worms, I don't hope it doesn't include 20 pages, but what exactly is the definition of a conflict of interest? In just a brief summation.
I can give you what I think it means.
Right.
I don't have I don't have like a statute number to quote from right off the top of my head, but I mean, if for example, I guess an example might be better. If a police officer had the same interest that Mr. McIntyre did, and then also had influence over dispatch in which tow company that they called for a particular incident, and they were out at an accident and said, hey, call Eckies, which he's gonna have an interest in, to come tow this vehicle, then that would be a conflict of interest because he would be doing something as part of his employment for the city that would financially benefit him in another way. Just like, we don't take tips, for doing city jobs. We don't, we have all of these provisions that if anybody's gonna do any kind of business with the city that is also employed with the city, the council has to approve that. And it talks about in this ordinance prescribing the extent of the authority, because if parameters need to be drawn around that, then we need to do that. And I think, in this particular situation, it says that Lieutenant McIntyre shall not attempt to influence the call rotation for towing companies or perform any other action that would benefit either Eckies Towing and Recovery or Pinnacle Towing and Recovery while performing his duties for the city of Maumelle. So if, obviously if he's out on a call and he tried to influence that, then that would be a conflict.
So how would you prevent it if that was the case? I mean, if he, like you just got through saying, and he's out on a call, how would you prevent him from crossing the line?
So if I may, Madam City Attorney, we have a tow rotation list, right? And so every tow company that meets our qualifications is put on that tow rotation list. For example, there was a wreck today that the fire department responded at. They just say, hey, send, it was actually the police, said, hey, send a wrecker. It goes back to dispatch. Dispatch has on the board the company who's on the tow rotation for that week is what I believe it is. And then they call that wrecker that's on that tow rotation. And that rotation just goes down the list week by whatever companies meet the city's qualifications that are on that list.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner?
Motion to approve ordinance 1069.
I've got a motion to approve ordinance 1069. Is there a second?
Second.
And really, I have not been a huge fan of conflicts of interest. This is in my personal opinion, this is a different sort of agreement whereby any company and all companies that meet our qualifications can be put on that list, and then that list is just objectively gone through without any ability for an individual employee to affect that relationship. So in my opinion, when the law says that a municipal employee can't be interested in the profits of a contract with the city, directly or indirectly, unless the city council authorizes it, in my opinion, my personal opinion, is the council probably shouldn't do that if the contract, this again, my opinion, is being affected by that person's employment with the city. Such as a case where the city attorney said that if for example, Lieutenant McIntyre showed up at a vehicle wreck and said, hey, dispatch, call my tow company, or even if he had that ability to do that, then maybe this would be something that we don't. But he has no ability whatsoever to affect or impact that tow rotation because it's just objectively gone through. So I just wanted to share my opinion on that. But I do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on ordinance 1069? Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley.
No.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1069 is passed. Mr. Henson, if you could do me a favor, or someone, and just reach out to us, or myself or the city clerk, just to make sure, because we don't want to give a contract to a business that wouldn't otherwise qualify. But we just want to make sure we know what the complaint there was. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I will happily chat with you after the council meeting. The next order of business is Resolution 2022-30, approving a preliminary development plan. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-30, approving the preliminary development plan for the property titled Lot 1, Inc. Properties.
All right, we're thrilled to see Inc. Custom Tees. I'm thrilled to see Inc. Custom Tees expanding with more warehousing. It's nice to see businesses in the industrial park thriving. This is the preliminary development plan. Is there any discussion on that? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, if the engineer or their representative could come up and just kind of talk about what they do and what they're expanding, I think we'd all be interested. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Roy Andrews, 3 Monarch Drive. So Inc. has been there a while. Nobody really sees them, though you pass them nearly every day on the boulevard. They're kind of hidden behind the trees. Been in business many years. They do not just T-shirts, but all kinds of printing processes, not on paper, but on any type of jerseys, bags. They sell printed cups. They sell a variety of things. And they are looking to expand again. When they did an expansion 22 years ago, they had actually planned to do this third expansion at that time. And business has been good, and they're looking at increasing the warehouse space by about 13,000 square feet and bringing an additional 10 to 20 employees on.
Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you very much. Wish them well and wish them good luck and hope they sell a lot of T-shirts.
Yes, and you know, at the every year when they T-shirts that they don't sell or whatever, they do offer those at a discounted price. So.
There is on the city's Facebook page, I believe last year during Economic Development Week, that was one of the companies that we featured. So it's a couple-minute video if you just want to take a look at that. Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yeah, motion to approve Resolution 2022-30.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is Resolution 2022-31, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-31, a resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget.
All right, if you hit your button, please do so again. This is regarding the roof at the fire department. Essentially, it's a net zero budget resolution. We received money, thanks in part to the help from the city clerk's office, to fund the replacement or repair of that roof. And so we need to mark in the budget the revenue and then the corresponding expense. Is there any discussion on Resolution 2022-31? Councilmember Mosley?
I'd just ask which roof we're looking at. Is it Station 1, Station 2?
It is Station 1, I believe. Yes.
Was it storm damage?
Was it storm damage?
I wasn't aware we had a damaged roof.
Scott Eaton, interim fire chief, 2000 Murphy Drive. It was just kind of yes, there was some damage that was found. That's how we were able to claim it on insurance. However, it just was one of those roofs that just never was right. We just constantly chased one leak from one end to the other. And so this company's come in and actually already done the work, and we had no leaks today. So
excellent.
So we'll take it.
All right, thank you.
It was starting to do more damage. We were having to replace furniture and rug, carpet, and repaint walls. It was getting bad. So we're glad that it worked.
I'm glad it worked out that well. Thank you.
Councilmember Mosley, it might be more accurate to ask if the city has any roofs that don't leak at all in the city. So we have a motion second? Did we not?
Motion to approve, second?
Yeah. Now we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this resolution? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item of business is Resolution 2022-31, amending the general fund budget. Madam City Clerk?
I neglected to number this, I do apologize. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-32. A resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget.
Thank you. So this is an optional purchase. I just want to start off with that. One of the things is as we've changed the application and review process for utilities that are doing excavation work, the amount of oversight that we have now is incredible compared to what it was before. What we're asking for is money for the inspectors to have on site a tablet so that as they're going through and verifying that the boring crews are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they can indicate it right there in the tablet. That then coincides with the OpenGov rollout, which then hits all the permitted people, including, depending on the way Mr. Grummer has it set up, can actually notify the contractors, the utility, right then and there. And so it is just part of the workflow process. What's currently happening is they're writing things down or remembering it and then coming back, which is still far better than we've used to do, but nowhere near as Johnny on the spot as having the tablet and walking out. We think that this will help us ensure that the utilities are more properly the contractors are repairing damage, that we can, it just gives us more ability to report things. Obviously, we didn't have this in the budget at year end because of the scenario. Also, just as a heads up, we're still at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the amount of broadband that we anticipate being installed in the city. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, it does sound like something that they definitely need as a tool to work with. My question is about how many tablets are we talking about?
I believe, Scott, you may be able to answer this. Was this 2 for your inspectors and then 1 for Mike's? 4 total? 4 in code enforcement and then 1 in public works.
All right, thank you.
2, 4 and 2. I've got people holding up fingers. I feel like it's the Price is Right. Folks are shouting out when I should bid. So it is for one of the things we've really doubled down on is we have the position of a construction operations coordinator in the public works office. They typically come in at the end and make sure that everything is all pretty at the end. We've started rolling that person out for a lot more random inspections, and instead of waiting to the end, we're hitting it a lot more frequently than we used to be. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I'm not really opposed to this ordinance. I am watching our general fund balance go more into the negative, but I was mainly just going to point at either I'm reading this wrong or there's a little bit of a math error down at the bottom. The amount that we're hitting the general fund with is about 6,000 or 7,000, and it's popping it up more into the negative by about 11,000. So I'm just wondering if we had a slight math error there.
My computer calculator, or me, doesn't know how to add the negative number.
About 7,000 onto 77 comes out to about 84. So I think it's off by about 4,000, but.
Aye. It's what?
I think it should be 84,469.
Okay. So, we can amend it to 84,469? I'd entertain a motion to amend the revised budget fund balance from negative 88,469 to negative 84,469.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of making that amendment, say yes.
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 All opposed, no. Thank you for that catch, Councilmember Mosley. Madam City Attorney, does that require change back to first reading?
I don't believe so, because it's, the changes, that are listed due to, for these particular reasons, the amounts are still the same as for the text in the chart, so I think it's fine. Correction of a clerical error.
All right, thank you. Any additional discussion on Resolution 2022-32?
Motion to approve 2022-32.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Next order of business is Resolution 2022-23, amending the 2022 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
I feel like I just read it. Okay. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2022-33, a resolution to amend the 2022 general fund budget.
We'll have to make the same correction.
Yes, ma'am. Because we changed the number on the previous resolution, I'd entertain a motion to amend Resolution 2022-33 from the current budget fund balance to negative 84,469 and the revised budget to negative $89,469. Got a motion and a second? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. So now, on to the context of this. One of the things we've really been stressing, first of all, if you haven't read the memo following this resolution from Liz, please take a look at that. By the way, Liz is periodically sending me text messages. She's on vacation this week. At this time, her daughter is singing in a choir, and so I think she's watching, maybe with an earpiece in or stepping out for this meeting. So she hated missing it, and so did I. We've been very heavily focused on, in the finance department, trying to catch up on audits. Y'all will recall that we're completely changing over to a new financial software suite. Part of that has, we have slowed that process down as we focused more energy onto the audit. As a result, and in order to springboard us forward, what OpenGov is suggesting is actually sending someone on site for an intensive onboarding period, 2 intensive onboarding periods, as opposed to working completely virtual. They originally were planning on sending several people here, but they think they can get one person on site and then another person working virtually to cut that cost down. In order for us to do that, we need we didn't budget for that at the beginning of the year. So we're asking for $5,000 to do that. As a heads up, we think that we anticipate coming back to the council here soon as we're trying to sort out several different issues also related to the onboarding of the new OpenGov software that we're using for many things, such as permits, but also primarily for finance and the budgeting process. We had originally contracted with them to purchase some payroll functions and some HR functions. As we were onboarding, it became pretty apparent that that company, in fact, they said it, that they were no longer recommending that we use OpenGov at this time for the personnel and HR related functions that we had built into the contract. So we are currently renegotiating, because we're not getting everything we paid for, to lower that price. We think that the comparable system will end up costing a little bit more. We're still in negotiations about that. Also, as part of the delay of the onboarding to the new financial software, we extended our contract with our current finance software, Springbrook. So we had anticipated on being fully onboarded by right now, basically, but we're now anticipating it at the third quarter. So we've had to extend that, or we're gonna have to extend that. And so just full transparency, we anticipate coming back for those. We just don't have those numbers yet, because we're still trying to negotiate with OpenGov and figure out how that'll all work. Anyways, back to Resolution 2022-33. Any discussion on that resolution? I've got a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-33. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes new business. Just a couple comments. Don't forget, city offices will be closed on June 20th for Juneteenth. That's when our next council meeting would normally be. So the council meeting will be on Tuesday, June 21st. And then also don't forget about those of you that are attending the Municipal League next week, Municipal League Conference. Any council member comments? Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, I became aware of something while I was in Tulsa doing some family business. I saw, my wife actually saw an item in regard to Maumelle Friends of the Animals on Facebook, something that I wasn't aware of. And apparently there's been some I don't know, I guess some misdeeds or whatever, and I called the city attorney, and she was kind enough to fill me in on what was going on with the police report, and that has been actually referred to criminal court, I believe. It's regarding, and what I would like, at the time, she mentioned that only, I think, Councilmember Gardner and myself had called to ask about this. So I'm not sure how aware other council members are in regard to this. And the reason I'm interested is that Maumelle Friends of the Animals is a group that's been kind of intertwined with the city as far as the animal control department. And it involves I think missing money at the Maumelle Friends of the Animals, but I would like if the city attorney wouldn't mind, kind of fill the rest of the council in on and the public, I think they ought to know, as to what's going on with that, and kind of give the background you gave to me and perhaps Councilmember Gardner.
Well, as far as the relationship with the city goes, prior to probably, I think, November of last year, there were some interoperational functions between Maumelle Animal Services and Maumelle Friends of the Animals. For example, they would provide like the chips for the animals, to have those placed in the animals so that they can be identified if they're found, that kind of thing. And a certain percentage of adoption fees would compensate them for those purchases, and just some similar types of arrangements where there were adoption fees, a portion of which might reimburse something that Maumelle Friends of the Animals had purchased. Also maybe some storage of some of their items in the Maumelle Animal Services facility and that kind of thing. So what happened, was it November? Am I right? I think it's November. I think it was November, yeah. Back in November, it was brought to the attention of the Animal Services Supervisor that there'd been a meeting and that one of the officers of Maumelle Friends of the Animals had disclosed to their board that she had misappropriated some funds, quite a bit, probably, I think she said at that time about $45,000. So at that point, once it came to my attention, the mayor's attention, we all had a meeting the same day. I asked him to bring in Chief Pickard so that we could get a police report started to look into everything. We also separated out that, like, the financial relationship from MFOA at that time, made sure that whatever funds we held for them were, we took them out of the animal shelter and everything had to be accounted for and everything separated out, and started working on an agreement that would be used in the future with any type of volunteer rescue organization, nonprofit, that worked with the city, that spelled out what that relationship would look like, how, the requirements for fostering animals, all of those types of things. And I started working on that, and we now have an agreement that I think everybody's pretty much on the same page with, and that Chris Davis, of course, has worked with me to create, to have a little bit more of a formal understanding of what our relationship is and what our boundaries are between the two. As a result of the police investigation, there were some felony charges filed. The detective did the investigation. The prosecutor, the Pulaski County prosecutor, because they are felony charges, filed those charges in circuit court, and they are still pending. The arcourts.gov website, they're accessible there. And it will be probably sometime before they're fully adjudicated and resolved.
Okay, as I understand it, the president was involved and the treasurer were involved in having charges filed against him by the prosecutor?
That's correct.
Okay, and so one of them, from what I understood, I did my best to try to read the police report and the sample agreement that you sent me. I could not find the case. I will look on AR.gov website or whatever and see if I can't find that. But it does concern me that we've had a very informal arrangement with this group over the years, and from what I'm reading, there's money. Maumelle Friends of the Animals picks up money from our animal control folks. They give them money or something. There's some things I want to look into and find out what's been going on from a money standpoint. I'm kind of concerned that maybe this informal agreement, we need to be very careful about these arrangements with money and that sort of thing, because we may have actually in some manner contributed to this problem, making it easy for somebody to hide something. I do not know all the details yet, but I'm concerned about this. I think it's a big deal. I'm not going to label it something very dramatic at this point, but I would like to sit down and visit with the mayor and the city attorney some more. I was out of town, and today's the first day I've been able to kind of dig into this. And but I just wanted to go on the record saying I'm concerned about this, and I really think the city should probably step back from this Maumelle Friends of the Animals until some of these things are resolved with their group. I don't think we need to be doing business with a group that's had their officers had charges filed against them for taking money. There's some other questions like, are they in good standing with the Secretary of State? Are they in good standing with the IRS and some things like that? I think we should only be doing business with entities that are clean, you know, in that regard. I know there's a lot of people that contribute to Maumelle Friends of the Animals and are friends of theirs, and the vast majority, I'm sure, are very honest, decent people, and I would encourage them to step in and make sure that whatever their organization becomes, whether they just shut that one down and start a new one, which might be the best. But again, I don't know enough about this to say anything that how I think they really ought to do, but it's a tricky situation. We ought to approach this in a very conservative manner, and because it to a degree it reflects badly on the city. So that's all I've got right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, just a couple things I wanted to say on that. So I think it's important there's been a whole lot of rumors, as is often the case, and I want to take a minute to address them. So first of all, there was accusations that the city was trying to cover it up or something. When we first heard of a rumor that there was possibly money from a third party that had been taken from someone within that third party, we conducted a criminal investigation. And so just so that folks know how rare that is essentially someone saying, like, we're going to investigate even though there's no complaining party, right? Because no one at this point, from the Maumelle Friends of the Animals had come to say, hey, someone took our money. So we heard a rumor, immediately began an investigation, and the city attorney covered some other things. We immediately started trying to unintertwine, I'm not sure if that's the word, de-intertwine, the way that we operated with them. I think it's also very important to note that the Maumelle Friends of the Animals and the people that have donated to them and the animals are victims in this matter due to the actions of a few people. So we still have a very large active organization who is wanting to help the situation with animals here in Maumelle. We still have an animal shelter that is looking for help from whomever they can get it from to ensure that we're being able to adopt out animals and take care of those animals sufficiently. So I just wanted to mention those things as well. Is there any additional council member comments? Madam City Attorney?
No additional comments.
Madam City Clerk?
No comments.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion, second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.